In June of 2022, the inflation rate hit a 40-year high of 9.1%, largely due to the historically fast-paced rise in the price of shelter, food, and energy. And now for some of us, this jump in inflation has been a nuisance, but for others, it has been a nightmare as we watch essential consumer good prices skyrocket. Food prices up more than 70% over last year, health insurance up more than 20%, and rent up by 29% on average. And although the current inflation rate has dropped to 5%, the prices on consumer goods are not dropping at the same pace, if at all. Hi, I'm Rebecca, and welcome to the channel where I teach you how to get the most out of your money. Now, if you're interested in learning more about personal finance and growing your money exponentially, then go ahead and click that subscribe button and notification bell below. Today, I'm going to discuss the financial collateral damage caused in the wake of inflation over 2 years ago, and that is credit card debt. And because workers' salaries have not outpaced inflation, a lot of people had to turn to credit cards in order to make ends meet. Now, there was no government bailout last year, so people turned to credit cards to weather the storm, and now the chickens are coming home to roost as people are amassing more debt than they can afford to pay. As a result, bankruptcy filings have seen a surge. In fact, in January of this year, Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcy filings increased by 20% over a year earlier and are expected to be even higher. So let's talk about bankruptcy. Is it the best option? How do you go about filing? And what are the drawbacks or repercussions of filing for bankruptcy? Now, first of all, bankruptcy is a legal proceeding by a person who is unable to pay their outstanding debts. If you have outstanding debts that you are unable to pay, then bankruptcy is an option. Now, the key phrase here is you're unable to pay the debt, not that you don't want to pay the debt. That is not how it works. The court is going to examine your income and expense records to determine their course of action. Now, there are two types of personal bankruptcy filings, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. Now, let's explore Chapter 7 first. Chapter 7 is simple and straightforward, and it's the quickest form of bankruptcy because people who file Chapter 7 usually have little or no assets. You need to understand that you can only dispose of unsecured debts. And unsecured debts include credit card balances, medical bills, payday loans, personal loans. Now, there are some unsecured debts that the courts will not discharge, such as student loans, child support, taxes you owe to the IRS, and any criminal fines that you have. And these are the exceptions when it comes to unsecured debt that the court will not discharge. Now, if you have any non-exempt assets such as stocks, bonds, cash, or other valuables, the bankruptcy trustee will liquidate this property and distribute the proceeds to your unsecured creditors before discharging your bankruptcy. Also, the court will not discharge secured debts such as car or mortgage payments. These are collateral loans, and typically secured creditors will not come after you during the bankruptcy proceeding. But once the bankruptcy has been discharged, they have the right to repossess that vehicle or place a lien on your property and foreclose on your home. So during bankruptcy proceedings, you want to reaffirm your debt with your secured lenders, which means that you sign an agreement with them basically saying, just be cool, don't take my car, don't take my house, I am going to pay you. But you must uphold your end of the bargain or they will come after you. They will repossess your car and they will foreclose on your property. Your average income over the previous 6 months must be lower than your state's median income. And you can just Google the term Chapter 7 bankruptcy means test for your particular state to get the income limit for the state in which you reside. Now, the bankruptcy will stay on your credit report for 10 years from the date that you file. Then it will automatically drop off of your credit report. Now, let's move on and talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Now, if you earn too much to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you may file under Chapter 13. Now, if you are sole proprietor and not an incorporated entity, you can also file under Chapter 13. Okay? Under Chapter 13, the court will not liquidate any of your property to pay off your debt. You will be allowed to keep possession of your assets, but you will have to set a repayment plan for some portion of your income going forward. And you'll need to create a workable repayment plan over 3 or 5 years. 5 years is the longest term limit the court will extend payments. The term length of the repayment will be determined by the court. If your monthly income is less than the state's median income, then the plan is 3 years. Now, the court can extend that with just cause. If your monthly income is more than the state's median income, then generally the payment will be over 5 years. And once you've completed your payment arrangement, the court will dismiss the debts under Chapter 13. Now, if you fail to make the payments, the court will dismiss the case and your creditors can come after you again to recover the unpaid debt. The day that you file for bankruptcy protection, the law stops all collection activity and the legal proceedings by your creditors, regardless of whether you're filing under Chapter 13 or Chapter 7. And if your creditors call you about the outstanding debt, just let them know that you filed for bankruptcy and you can give them your court-assigned case number and they just have to back off. Now, in the current climate, there are 3 primary catalysts that are driving this bankruptcy surge, and let's talk about those 3. The first factor is job loss. Now, let's face it, unless you are a corporate executive with a golden parachute or a hefty severance package, losing your job is going to be a strain. And if you don't have an emergency fund set up, you're definitely headed for disaster. The second reason people are filing is for medical bills. Before the pandemic, 66.5% of bankruptcies in the United States were filed due to high medical bills. A serious disease or an injury can set you back hundreds of thousands of dollars and wipe out all of your savings, your retirement accounts, and your home equity. The third reason people go bankrupt or file for bankrupt is excess use of credit cards, which we're talking about primarily here. Now, some people just can't control their credit card spending irregardless of inflation, but a lot of people are maxing out their credit cards because they just don't have any other recourse. They're juggling trying to pay credit cards, they have the car notes and other loans to pay, and it's gotten to the point where they can't even make the minimum payment on their credit cards. And bankruptcy might just be the best option in this case. And let me just mention a few advantages and disadvantages for filing bankruptcies. I'll start with the disadvantages. Disadvantage number 1, your credit will take a huge hit, and typically around 150 to 200 points. Let's say you have a credit score of 750, it could easily take a nosedive to about 550. Now, the second disadvantage is that you're unable to qualify for a mortgage or rent. Now, landlords may not accept your application, nor will you qualify for a home loan. Most home buyers have to wait 2 to 4 years after their discharge to qualify for a loan. The third disadvantage is some credits are not dischargeable. You can't avoid paying Uncle Sam. Your student loans or taxes, they are not dischargeable, nor are your car payment or your mortgage. You still have these debts after the discharge. The fourth disadvantage is asset liquidation. You could lose some of your valuables should the court liquidate assets to pay off some of your unsecured debt. And the fifth disadvantage is rebuilding your credit. Now, you'll be able to rebuild your credit over time. Now, of course, you'll lose your credit cards, which, of course, could be a good thing. Now, as far as advantages go, the biggest advantage for filing for bankruptcy is that it gives you a fresh start. No more harassing phone calls and letters. And secondly, you can begin rebuilding your credit card by getting a secured credit card. A secured card means you deposit the money with the credit card company in an open account. In other words, a security deposit. Now, there are some credit card companies out there that will issue a regular card to people with bad debt, but the interest rate will be high and they come with an annual fee. Now, I have made a video on companies or credit card companies that will issue you a credit card or help you to rebuild your credit, and I'll put a link in the description box below to that video. If your poor spending habits is what got you into this predicament in the first place, you might want to go with securing a secured credit card to rebuild your credit. So now the question becomes, should you file for bankruptcy? And the question is, it just depends. Now, you should first contact your creditors and try to negotiate a payment arrangement that you can afford. Now, if they refuse, then what options do you have? Now, let's say your liabilities are excessive in comparison to your income and assets. You have a mortgage payment of $3,000 and your income is only $1,500 a month with another $10,000 in savings. Now, within a few months, your savings are going to be depleted. Then again, what options do you have? Now, bankruptcy should never be used to simply avoid paying your bills, but let's face it, life can throw you a curveball that can disrupt your financial world, and bankruptcy can give you a fresh start. Now, the last thing I'll touch upon is how you go about filing for bankruptcy and the cost. Now, it can cost you thousands of dollars to hire an attorney to file Chapter 7 and even more for Chapter 13. but there is less costly help that is available to you. You can contact your legal local aid society to find an affordable or free attorney for assistance. Then again, representing yourself is another option if you feel so inclined. So there you have it. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide if filing for bankruptcy is the best option for you. Okay? So that's going to wrap up all that I have to share for today. Thank you for staying until the end. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on that notification bell to receive an alert each time I upload a new video. Until the next time, take care and bye for now.